Yes, people, welcome back to the SPTC podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jeremy Mcintosh, joined by the very well-lit, albeit darkly clothed, Simon Phillips. Hi, how are you doing?
Yes, I'm good, mate. Let me just quickly explain to everyone before we go on. Last week, I didn't even tell you this, Jay. I did record a half an hour, 35-minute solo pod, and I was really pleased with it. I was like, that was really good. I covered everything, and then uploaded it, sent it out, didn't do the, check it before I send it out, and then I pressed play once I'd seen it go out, and the audio didn't come out.
Oh, outstanding. Outstanding.
Yeah. So we missed the podcast because there was no way I could do it all again. I don't know what happened, but the audio didn't come out.
Oh, wonderful. Well, let's hope that the audio comes out this week. It'll be a real tragedy if it doesn't.
Well, you're in control, so it'll be fine this week, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, well, let's hope it's all good. But yeah, apologies for any technical issues, guys, for last week. Although I'm sure that the Chelsea 3 Napoli 2 result has meant that people have woken up a little bit cheery and aren't holding too much resentment. So just as I guess sort of quick overview, we'll dive into Napoli Chelsea now. We'll talk about the Champions League. We'll talk about Pedro, Palmer, Anselmino, Sterling, any rumours, and we'll look ahead to what's going to be a slightly weird game this weekend. I have a feeling. Albeit I'm quietly confident. But Chelsea 3, well, Napoli 2, Chelsea 3, I suppose is the appropriate way to look at it. If you're into your XG, then it's Napoli 0.98, Chelsea 2.2. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought the second half was very good. I thought Conte got the better of Rafinha in the first half. I think he was very clever. He knew how we were going to play, and they kind of like picked their moments to press us. And when they did, they went all out. They got the ball back and they attacked straight away. And it was impressive actually. I'm looking at it as, obviously I'm a Chelsea fan, but if you're looking at it as a neutral, I think Napoli were very good in the first half, and I was impressed with how much they were winning the second balls. They were winning the duels. Their work rate was incredible, and they were just better than Chelsea all over the pitch really, and created some chances and obviously got their goals from going 1-0 down as well. So they responded. Their fans responded. I think our setup was completely wrong to start the game. Playing with one centre back in Europe against a good team like Napoli away from home. I just think he got it wrong, and he soon realised that he got it wrong, and made the changes that we needed to make. Put the more familiar shape back in there with the back four and Gusto then doing that inverted role. But which, a lot of people have pointed out today, it's refreshing to see that he realised that he set up wrong to start with and then made amends and corrected it. Because if he didn't do that, I think it could have been a very long evening for Chelsea. But yeah, once he did that, we looked better. We had better shape. Players knew more what they were doing. And we kept the ball more and played with a lot more control in the second half. But also, it kind of went hand in hand with Napoli. They were depleted with injuries. They were missing a lot of their bigger players and their best players. Conte didn't even field a full squad. He had, I think, 2 or 3 missing from the bench. So that just shows how little he had to choose from. And they got tired in the second half, and they kind of just went downhill. And it went hand in hand with Chelsea going uphill, going up through the gears and playing much better. And obviously the wonder goals from Joao Pedro came at the perfect time, especially the third, because, a lot of people are out there today saying, Chelsea qualified for Europe, but it was literally 10 minutes and 1 goal away from us not going through automatically. So that third goal was hugely important, and Pedro's finishing was class in that second half. And, you felt like he only needed a half chance to score a goal, which he did. And yeah, I think in the end it was very 50-50, and I think it could have gone either way. But Chelsea just had too much quality in the end, and obviously the subs that we could bring on with Cole Palmer's and even Garnacho, I think was quite effective when he came on. And yeah, it just made the difference with Chelsea and saw us over the line to get the big win, which was so important.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, some of the points you've raised. I mean, everyone will probably know, but this is the first time Napoli have lost at home in over a year. It's actually just over 13 months that Napoli haven't lost at home. Equally, we know that Rossigna is, in coaching terms, a young coach. And I still think Conte is probably a world-class coach, if not in the bracket, maybe just below, but certainly is, you would consider now to be a bracket maybe above someone like Rossigna. So I think it's real credit to him for adapting over the course of the game to ensure that Chelsea come out on top. And I think that you're right. The first half, Napoli certainly had the better of things, but the second half, Chelsea were an awful lot better. It certainly helps when Cole Palmer's firing, doesn't it? I think as well, you mentioned that we're so close to not being in that top 8. And that top 8 is really, really interesting because you've got 4, 5, all of the Prem teams. Is it all of the Prem teams are in there? They are, right? So. Yeah. City, Sporting, Chelsea, Barca, Tottenham, Liverpool, Bayern, Arsenal. Then you have Madrid, Inter, PSG, Juve, Newcastle, Atleti, Dortmund, maybe Benfica because of their mental game, that are the sort of large teams in the sort of knockout stages. So, I mean, there's huge teams in there. I don't know if it would have been Chelsea fans would have been unhappy, but given the teams that haven't qualified in the top 8, you could have understood if Chelsea might not have made it. But alas, we did. And actually, I want to talk about Joao Pedro quickly, Sai, actually, because, well, one of the things I did think last night was that people should only tweet after a match because there's so much criticism during the match, but it's just ridiculous. But there's a lot of talk about Joao Pedro because he's like a 9.5, or, he's not quite a striker, not quite a 10. So what does he do? And, can he be clinical? Can he always be in the sort of form that he was in at the start of his Chelsea career? And I think that there's been, especially I've noticed this week, a lot of chat about how we may be better if Jackson were there still in the space of Pedro. But in my opinion, I don't think they're particularly comparable players in terms of finishing quality. I think the goals that Joao Pedro scores, Jackson doesn't score. I think Jackson may have scored the second one, but definitely not the first one on the left foot as well. And actually, I think Joao Pedro has been a really impressive player this season. I don't really know what people are people expecting him to be a 25 goal player, because he's not one of those. But actually, he's going to be 20 to 25 goals and assists by the end of the season. And that's a successful move, right?
Yeah, I think he's proven that he's a very good finisher, and we're talking about Jackson there, so we'll roll it back to Jackson. I don't think Pedro is a true out and out 9, but he's more of a true out and out 9 than Jackson is, I think, in terms of what he offers. Because I think, I wasn't one of those who criticised him mid-game yesterday, but I know who you're talking about. And it was quite funny because I think one of those tweets was like 3 minutes before he scored the first goal. I've been caught by stuff like that before as well. And it happens.
Of course, we've all been, yeah.
But yeah, I don't think he had a good first half. I think he definitely had a very good second half and he grew more into it. But the first half, his main problem was he was being marked by 2 players most of the time. He didn't have any space. And he was trying to make things happen, but I think that was the problem. I think he was over trying with a lot of the times when he did get the ball, and he kind of just lost it easily. But the second half, he was superb and easily man of the match, with the 2 goals. But yeah, I think he's an interesting one. I'm still keeping open-minded with Pedro. I've always believed he's been better as a 10, but if he can start, doing more of the ball holding the ball up, bringing other players into it, and doing the basic stuff rather than trying to do a little bit too much of it, I think he could be a decent 9 option, but I don't think he should be our main 9 option going forward. And then you've got the debate with Liam Delap: is he good enough, and do Chelsea need another 9 to complement what they've got? But yeah, he was very good in the Club World Cup. He went off it a little bit, ghosted many games since then. But I feel like he's starting to get back into it now. And as you said, like, he's always scoring goals. But even if he's playing badly, he always comes up with a goal, and that's because the difference is he's got a very good finish, and that sets him with both feet. Yeah, as he proved last night, and he only needs a half chance, which is a really good asset to have in this team, because when we're searching for a goal, when we're playing against a low block, sometimes half chances are the ones that you need to bury, and that's what makes him an important player for us.
Yeah, and actually, I do think that the discourse would be different if Palmer had played the whole season. I really, really do, because you see when Palmer comes on, everything changes. 2 assists. I mean, the second assist for me, for Pedro's second goal and the winner, what I loved about that is if you look it back, when Palmer receives the ball, he sort of does a small drag back and dinks the ball over the 2 standing tackles, and it just wriggles him out of space. And then when he receives the ball back to then play the pass, he hesitates in a way that feints the defenders to keep going, and he sort of just slightly stops moving, and he just gives himself that tiny bit of space, and the weight of pass is perfect. And I think Pedro made the right decision to shoot rather than pass. And I think if Palmer were to be a consistent player in the team throughout the entire season, then Pedro's numbers would likely be greater, in my opinion, I think. But I'm happy with Pedro. And actually, it then got me thinking, which players have we signed from Brighton? We've signed Joao Pedro, Cucurella, Caicedo. Who else?
Well, there was Buonanotte, but he's gone.
Yeah, Buonanotte. Colwell doesn't count because he went on loan there. Am I missing Sanchez? Robert Sanchez.
Oh, yeah, Sanchez.
Like, Sanchez, maybe mild question marks, but all the other guys that have come from Brighton, I think, have been excellent. So when Chelsea are always sort of hammered with, you buy players from Brighton, our best players are from Brighton. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's, besides Cole Palmer and Enzo, I think that's fine. And I guess it's because we spoke so much about him last season. We've done less so this year. It's almost refreshing, I suppose, but it's wonderful to see Palmer on the pitch, isn't it? Yeah.
And last night it felt like he was back. Like it was the Palmer that we knew. Obviously, he needs to do that now at a sustained level, but he's not been at it at all. And even he knows that. You know, I speak to people close to Palmer, and even he knows, and people have been questioning why he's looked unhappy and his body language is not great. I think we spoke about this last time, and it's because he's not been happy with his own form. That's literally the only reason. He sets himself very high standards, and he knew that he's become the Chelsea talisman, and that he is relied on, and he needs to be firing for the rest of the team to sort of be firing as well. So I felt like last night was the Palmer that we saw in his best form. He's been struggling with injuries, and he still is. They're trying to manage that. They're trying to get him training regularly again, because he hasn't been, and he's been advised that he needs to train regularly to get over these injuries. So that's the path that they're on now. But he needs to be in those positions. And again, I think this was great from Liam last night to only bring him on in the second half rather than start him, and Liam wisely said after the game that he knew that Palmer would be more needed in the second half rather than the first half. When those Napoli players started to tire because they were short of their big name players, and Palmer could then affect the game, and that's exactly what happened. And he was pulling the strings, and obviously made those 2 assists. So but he just needs to maintain that now and carry on, and hopefully this will be the start of Palmer coming back and keeping hold of his fitness. I think he's still got to be managed. I think he still will be managed. So that might mean he misses a game here or there. But I think that's smart right now. Like we did with Reece James, I think it's just smart to get him back to his fitness, because training right now is more important for Palmer rather than playing the game. So I think once they've done that and got past that bit, then I think we will see more of the very best Cole Palmer, which we all know is world class on his day.
Yeah, he's the best 10 in the world on his day, give or take. I think so. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And actually, one thing I wanted to mention on Joao Pedro before we talk about something else is that if you look at the data of Rosinha at Strasbourg over his 2 seasons there, I think both seasons they were 18th in the league for shots taken per 90. And that suggests that his teams obviously recycle the play a lot in order to build a really, really high XG chance, essentially. And actually having someone like Joao Pedro is really, really effective in a system like that, because he doesn't need to be a volume shooter to score. And, we talk about Jackson. Jackson actually does need 2 or 3 bites of the cherry to get it, whereas Pedro doesn't often. And I think that he's a really effective player to have in this system, because we might only, as a team, create 3 or 4 really quality chances in the game. But I would back Joao Pedro and Palmer, to be fair, between the two of them, to score 2 or 3 of those. I think it's between the two of them. I thought they were exceptional. I thought Enzo Fernandez was brilliant last night as well. I rarely disagree with the sort of statistical analysis of things, Si, but I'm not feeling Wesley Fofana very much, and I know people love him. I'm not sure about him.
Yeah, I get that. Fofana for me is like he's like a more of an old-fashioned centre back, where he, like, although I say defensive wise he's good, he isn't. He loses his concentration easily. I think that's his biggest problem.
Yeah,
he ball watches a lot, which is another big problem for him. And then also sometimes he won't watch the ball, and he'll watch the man too much and then lose the man, which is what he did last night. So he doesn't have it in his. I don't know whether it's football intelligence in general. Maybe that's a bit harsh, but I don't think he has that ability to read the game very well, which, as we know, centre backs need to be the guys who read the game the best, because they're looking at everything in front of them.
Yeah.
So they need to be able to read the game, and he doesn't do that. He doesn't anticipate. He can be rash. He can be clumsy, and I think, whilst he will do a really big tackle or clear the ball off the line or an interception or a block, he's got all of that in his game. I just think he lacks that reliability that even a Chalobah has over him. And really, as we saw last night, I think for Fofana to be playing well, he needs to have that good centre back partner with him, talking to him, telling him where to go. And for me, at his age now, that does concern me. And I'm with you on that. And many people are, but then, I think some people really rate him highly. But no, I don't think he's good enough.
I can understand why people rate him highly, but he's also slowly creeping into an adherence to Walcott's law, which is everybody thinks you're 19 forever. Like, he's 25. He's not a young player. He's actually one of the older players in the squad. He's not a kid. He's missed so much football. And I know that the Napoli goal where the defender does a sort of roulette-esque Maradona spin and finished it, like, that could be better defended, I think. Like, I don't think it's like a perfect smooth roll of a defender. No. It's all clunky and thoughtless. And I don't know. And being Reece James isn't a centre back, and I agree with you that I think Fofana would shine brighter with a commander next to him, because I think Fofana on the ball is technically very good. Lots and lots of recoveries. One thing I wanted to highlight from the game is, let me see if I can dig it out. Here it is. So the one thing, and I think it's important actually to say that for both you and I know the fan base more broadly, that the result is that what matters ultimately. And it's back-to-back wins for Rosinha in Europe. It's 4 wins in a row, looking to make it 5 at the weekends. We'll talk about in a minute. But the one area that I just wanted to flag now, but in case it becomes a theme throughout the sort of second half of this season, is Chelsea in the match against Napoli. They won less duels, won less ground duels, won less aerial duels, and were less successful at dribbling by a considerable margin in the dribbles and the aerial duels. We're not competing in the same way that Napoli were competing. Now, Conte's teams are different. They are physical. That's just what they're on. But nonetheless, it's just to highlight the fact that we lost in terms of most duels, ground duels, dribbles, all those kind of things. We weren't succeeding at that in the way that maybe I would think we should do. Just something to flag. And also, I think Sanchez deserves a lot of credit, because that save from Lukaku at the end of the game, albeit straight at him, but Thank Christ for that, because if Lukaku scored, it would have been miserable settings for all of us.
It was written in the stars, wasn't it? But yeah, Sanchez said no, mate, we're not having that story.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Chelsea go through automatically, which is absolutely wonderful. It's things you love to see. I think the form since being under Rosinha has been good. I don't think the performances have been perfect, but I don't expect perfection from this team just yet.
Yeah.
I know fans do, but we're not a perfect team yet in any sense. Actually, I don't think any team in the world is a perfect team. Even Bayern lost at the weekend. Even Arsenal are looking like they're stuttering domestically. Like, no one's perfect, but I think things are looking good. He seems intelligent. I actually thought, I actually think he deserves some credit, as you know, albeit minor, but he did take a bit of extra time during his TV interview after the game to send his love and thoughts for the Chelsea fans that were injured when they travelled out to the Napoli game. I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe reports that one was stabbed with a screwdriver. So so hopefully those people make a speedy recovery. And I thought it was a really nice touch from Rosinha to be aware of that and to sort of to make that an issue. And I think that the players are really warming to him. Let's talk about some ins and outs, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Anselmino, a player who I actually really rate, is coming back. Sterling has just left, which makes me sad because I defended Sterling to the hilt for ages. Disasi looks like he's going to be going potentially to West Ham, who we play this weekend. I'm expecting Tyreek George is going to go, but I've not heard anything, so I have no idea. So, and we've also had the Jacquet sort of debacle. Now it's us, Liverpool and Bayern looking to land him in the summer. And actually, you know, we said about Fofana, Jacquet is 5 years younger than Fofana. Mental. I honestly think Fofana's 22 every year. So that is what it is. But what's going on, Si? What's happening?
Where do we start, Jay?
Let's start with Anselmino. Start with Anselmino. Is he going to come back into the first team?
I don't believe he is. No. I've obviously had info that. I mean, the bottom line is Chelsea haven't actually made any decisions, but what I've heard that they're thinking of doing is sending him out on loan to somewhere else. The obvious one is Strasbourg. And then Chelsea still want a centre-back. So if Chelsea can't get... I prefer to call him Jacquet, by the way, Jeremy Jacquet, because I'm English.
Yeah.
If Chelsea can't get that... If Chelsea can't get that over the line, then...
Go on, Si.
I'll get my jacket. Wee. If Chelsea can't get that over the line, then I think Mamadou Sarr will come in.
He's just as good.
Yeah,
I swear on my life, he's just as good. I don't know.
A lot of people have said the same thing.
But I guess the thing is, right, if you look at it, Disasi's not good enough, needs to go. Badiashile's not good enough, needs to go. Colwell's injury prone, but definitely good enough to be a starter. Chalobah, I love as a squad player, and I think is massively underrated by people. But as a top level Champions League centre back, not entirely sure he's that starter just yet. Tosin's not good enough, and Fofana is actually made of paper mache, so we can't rely on him. So if you lose Badiashile, you potentially lose Tosin, especially got him on a free. So I think the club will take a decent bid from him at the end of the season. So Disasi, Badiashile, Tosin, Fofana and Levi's fitness is unreliable, and Chalobah's a very good sort of floor raiser, but I don't think he raises a ceiling necessarily. I'm potentially being a bit harsh. So I can understand the need to have a few centre backs in. Sarr is excellent. Anselmino is excellent. I don't understand why the club need to spend on Jacquet. I get it's for potential, but I think Sarr's got just as much, if not more. He's won international honours and he's played more games.
Yeah, he's already owned by Chelsea as well, so it's an easy one to do, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
But I've heard that they really, really rate Jacquet, and they know that every single top... I'm going to keep saying it like that. Every single top club in the world want to sign him. So they're just trying to get ahead. Last I heard yesterday, or this morning actually, is that they're still trying to sign him for this window, but the likelihood is it would be a deal for the summer, either loaning him back or getting a pre-agreement. And then if that happens, I think they'll probably try and get Sarr back in and then send Anselmino to Strasbourg, because they still want a centre-back. Like Liam Rosinha has asked for a centre-back. and they want to provide him with one. And obviously he's worked with Sarr, and he's said that Sarr is the perfect profile for what he wants. So, I think the most likely scenario is that happening right now. I can't see Anselmino staying and being the centre-back. Not yet. I can't see that happening. I think he'll go out on loan somewhere else. But yeah, as I said at the start, everything's still open. We've got until Monday evening at 7:00. That's the transfer deadline. So there's still time to sort something out. But the last I heard was they're going to have meetings today and tomorrow with Anselmino and speak about his future. So I won't be surprised if in the next sort of 24 hours we hear that he's agreed to go to Strasbourg on loan. And then, we'll see if the dominoes fall for Sarr to come back, or if we go and buy Jacquet.
Go and buy Jacquet. I guess the confusion for me with Jacquet is that it's, besides players like Caicedo and Enzo, and I think Palmer now, but not necessarily, but they're signed in the sense that they can help and then we can sell them for increased funds. Like, Jacquet is going to be a £50 million player. Like, he's going to have to really succeed to push on to be worth the sort of money that Chelsea might sell him for. And then for us, if he's worth that money, why would you sell him? Because he's clearly good enough to be the centre-back. So, yeah, I guess we'll see. Interestingly, Si, when Jeremy Jacquet was born, the UK number one was battling out between Ghetto Gospel with Tupac and Elton John and You're Beautiful by James Blunt, which is sad. I remember.
No way. When he was born?
Yeah. 13th, I think it's 17th of July. Well, yeah, 13th of July, 2005. So, yeah, James Blunt.
Does that even make you feel old, right? Surely.
Yeah, it does. I was born in 97. So, yeah, I feel... It makes me feel horrendous. Yeah,
that's mad. I feel like that song came out like 3 weeks ago.
So it's just for everyone on the call to know where we're at there. Okay, well, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Anselmino. He didn't get the I guess the desired minutes that you'd want at Dortmund. I think he got about 400 minutes or so over 10 or 11 games, something like that. But Dortmund fans have rated him so highly, man. Honestly, I've spoken to some Dortmund fans about him. They loved him. And I watched him play at Dortmund a couple of times because, I like to watch the Bundesliga as best I can. I rate the player so highly. I rate him so highly. I hope that he can make it to the Chelsea team. If not, I think he will have a really good footballing career. Any idea where Sterling's going? Well, at least he's gone, I suppose. That's wages off the books, but like...
Yeah, I think he'll stay in London. I definitely think he'll stay in London. I don't think he'll get, because he was linked with Napoli and stuff as well, wasn't he, and going abroad. But he's always
West Ham,
Fulham. I even saw, this isn't my info, but I even saw links with Tottenham earlier. I don't know where that came from. I didn't really read it properly, but
surely maybe would Brentford would take Sterling.
I think most clubs would, but it just depends on what they're going to be offering him, because I think they'll give him a chance as a squad player, but he doesn't want that, does he? He wants to be playing more.
Yeah, I get that. But maybe he can go to West Ham then, because if they end up in the Championship, he can play as much as he wants, I suppose. But I guess it's good for Chelsea to just sort of have that done and dusted, and then that's kind of...
Yeah, it was smart. It was smart because he's got big wages, and I don't know the ins and outs, but apparently we save money by doing it this way as a mutual agreement. They would have arranged some kind of fee with him, and it works out cheaper than keeping him and keep paying him until his contract runs out. So I think it was smart, even though I don't know the exact financials behind it. But yeah, he's gone now, and we aren't paying his £300,000 a week wages for him not to even play, which is mad.
Yeah, well, I will say on Sterling, seeing as he's gone now, I think he's one of the most overhated players in the Premier League. And I'm going to talk about another one in a second before we talk about West Ham. But he got to 200 Premier League goal involvements in 311 games. That's faster than Bruno Fernandes. That's in the top 10 of players in Premier League history. He's won 4 Premier Leagues. Like, he's got more goals and assists under Pep than anyone, I think. But I could be wrong. I just think he's a massively sort of overhated player. I think, and even
he was
at Chelsea,
very good. He was very good before he came to Chelsea. He was very good, and obviously Todd Bowley gets a lot of stick for Chelsea signing him. But I don't think like anyone at the time said, "Oh no, don't sign Raheem Sterling," because when he was coming in, like, yeah, he wasn't at his best, but he wasn't. He hadn't declined then. He declined, I think, at Chelsea, really.
Yeah, and it's still 35 goals and assists in 5,000 minutes at Chelsea. It's not. That's actually not terrible. Like, it's really not terrible, especially when you look at how Chelsea have been since he joined. Because Sterling was the first of the new era, really. I think the first sort of headline of the new era. So I just think he's been overhated, and I think he's a wonderful, wonderful football player. And genuinely, I know people have their gripes with him, and yes, you know, he could be a better finisher, and yes, he could maybe be slightly better at this and that. But if arguably the greatest manager of all time rates you so much that your numbers are so charged under that manager, you're clearly an excellent football player. And I hope that he gets the move that works for him and he gets the footballing opportunities that he deserves. And I think he can certainly get one of those at West Ham. One player I want to talk about, Si, before we talk about West Ham, is someone who split the SPTC crowd. Another English player who's quite old, who is potentially looking to move on a free. Mr. Harry Maguire. Now, what's going on, Si? I saw this on the site and I thought, what's going on?
There was a story actually from my colleague. He writes for Caught Offside, and they're not considered reliable, but I know for a fact that this guy Mark Bruss has really good contacts, so that's why I took notice of the story. I don't think for 1 minute it will happen, but apparently Chelsea have been showing a bit of interest in potentially going for Maguire as a free agent if that happens in the summer. As I say, I don't expect it for 1 minute to happen, but I thought it was good to put the debate out there, and I'm glad I did because it was quite interesting to see the responses.
What do you think of it, Si?
Do you know what? He's another player who's been like the butt of all jokes suddenly, especially in an England shirt. England fans have gone through, you know, this whole thing with him and hating him and scapegoating him. And, you know, I've even made plenty of jokes about him myself. I never used to rate him, but I think through maturity, I think he's improved. And as I said, as I wrote on the article that you probably already read, I think he ticks a lot of the boxes I'd like to see at the back for Chelsea, but not enough to convince me to say, yeah, let's go and get Harry Maguire. I'm interested to know your thoughts.
Mate, I rate him. Honestly, I rate him. Like, I think he's a bit of a lemon. And I think that he's never been as bad. Like, he's been poor, but I don't think he's ever been as bad as the media narrative has been. I think he just basically, when Pogba left United, caught the storm of United as shit. And we're going to pile it all on one player because that's just how it works. The fee that Man United paid for Leicester was way too high, and I think that was the difficulty at Leicester. He was exceptional, and I think at United he's had some outstanding moments. And I do honestly think for England he's been brilliant most of the time. I think he's been brilliant for England. Like, him and Stones, I think have been great. He's 32, so I imagine if he were to join Chelsea, it'd be on a 12-month contract. But you know, there are other defenders who are 30 plus. I think would be better suited to Chelsea's needs. However, Maguire is a freak in the air, as we all know, and I do honestly think he's technically better than people think he is. It would be very odd. I think the reason you don't go for him if you're Chelsea is because you're doing brand management more than anything. I think he's probably perfectly serviceable as like a fifth choice centre back that can play against Barnet in the Carabao Cup and can come on against, you know, Karabag in the Champions League game. Like, I don't hate that. I just think from a sort of branding optics perspective, I think that there's too much of an easy narrative to pick holes in if Chelsea were to make that move. And I think for Maguire's sake, like, he's had to show more resilience than pretty much anyone will have to do in their entire life. Like, if I was Maguire, I wouldn't want to go outside. Let alone he's kept his chin up, his shoulders back, and it's hugely commendable. And I know that people within the football industry have huge respect for Maguire because it's not easy to be in the position that he's been in. And he's not the only one, and he's not the only defender at Manchester United who's had the same sort of stuff. Phil Jones, for example, or whoever else you want to choose. We can all think of those players. I don't ever think the narrative is warranted, has sort of aligned with his poor performances on the pitch at all. And I like him. And I what I would like for Harry Maguire is for him to get. I mean, if I was Maguire, why do you live in England? Honestly, you owe nothing to people here. Like, abused endlessly. Even the love you got was a backhanded compliment. You know, the sort of slab head and all these things. Like, they're jovial and it's banter, but they're not actually nice. They like backhanded compliments. If I was him, I'd tell everyone to fuck off, and I'd go and play for a team in Greece, and I'd go and eat hummus and olives and not worry about anything for the rest of my life. In truth, I wouldn't bother with going to Chelsea. It's just as much of a nut house as Manchester United is. So if I was Maguire, I'd be MLS or something like that. I wouldn't be sticking around here, to be honest with you. So I like the player. I hope for him he makes a better decision than to go to Chelsea.
Does he go to the World Cup? Would you take him first, and then do you think Tuchel's going to take him?
I definitely wouldn't start him.
No.
But would I take him?
That's a really tough question, Si.
I don't know. Because the thing is, it's like I would always start Pickford for England, because for England, Pickford has been like Alisson for Liverpool, essentially, give or take. I think the starting pair for England is probably Guehi and Stones, right?
Yeah.
But I know Konsa's in for a shout. I think Tuchel will like Chalobah. I think Reece might even get a chance at centre-back at some points, depending on how we play. I think Tomori's often overlooked when it comes to sort of England lineups. Would I take Maguire? Maybe. I know that's an unhelpful answer. I think for England, he's been excellent. And actually, what I do think about Maguire, and actually it's not what I think, it's what I know, and everybody knows it, is that if you're in a semi-final and it's the 90 plus 1 minute and you have a corner, there is no one basically else, maybe in the world, that you want in the box to lump that corner to. Certainly for England options. So I'm fine with that. Like, if he's going to be a sort of feather in the cap, as it were, and not a starter, then that's fine with me, because Chalobah, I think, is a technically better player than Maguire now. But what Chalobah won't do in the 91st minute is win that header.
Yeah.
Whereas Maguire actually will do. So in that sense, yes, I maybe would consider him. And actually, when you look at the teams that are likely to be in for the World Cup final, you got, outside of England, be France, Spain, Argentina. No, I don't think Argentina will get that far. I don't think Brazil will get that far. France, Spain, maybe Germany, because they can turn it on whenever. I think they're probably the top three, unless I'm forgetting someone really obvious. I don't think I am.
No.
And then you look at their defenders. Okay, well, France have Saliba and Koundé and Upamecano and everyone else. Okay, but Maguire can compete aerially with those guys. The Spanish defense, Maguire leaps all over them, and even the German guys, I think Maguire in the air wins that duel. So I guess, if it's the 90th minute and we're going to be playing set piece ball, bring him on. So yeah, maybe I would take him. Would you?
Yeah, I would, and that would be my main reason. I would definitely take him.
Because he's a cannonball. Yeah.
And having a player with experience like that in the squad, he's been there and done it, so he can help even if he's not on the pitch.
And like we say, his resilience in life, I don't think he's going to be overly fussed by a World Cup final at this point, to be fair. I don't think it matters to him. Okay, interesting. Didn't expect to talk so long about Harry Maguire, but I guess that's my fault for mentioning him. Viva la Harry Maguire. Hopefully have a nice life after retirement and avoid the English media, because they're a disgrace. Last thing then, Si. Chelsea-West Ham this weekend, 5:30, Chelsea at home. West Ham, 2 wins in a row, but they've been stinking all season. I think they're in real trouble of getting relegated. Are they second bottom currently? Is that correct?
That's third from bottom, I think.
Third from bottom. Yes. They're 5 points away from Forest, 6 points away from Leeds, and 5 above Burnley, who sit below them, and Wolves are Wolves are embarrassingly bad, but naturally I would be quite sceptical about this because West Ham's form has been quite good, but actually Chelsea's form has been a lot better. And I'm expecting this to be a routine 2-0, 3-1 kind of vibe. What are you thinking?
Yeah, it should be. I mean, there's a couple of dangerous points that you mentioned there. The form they've won. I mean, if you count the FA Cup game against QPR, they've won 3 in a row, West Ham.
Yeah.
So they are building a bit of momentum back under Nuno. And also the fact that they're fighting for their lives to stay in the Premier League. I mean, relegation for them would be devastating. So they're going to be dangerous in that sense that they're going to be fighting for everything, which could cause some problems for Chelsea. But Chelsea are at home, have a better quality team, and shouldn't really see this as too much of a problem. I think the way the momentum has been for Chelsea right now, as long as we can turn it on and match them in terms of intensity, which is going to be hugely important, by the way. If we don't do that, then we're in trouble. If we can match them with their intensity and winning the second balls and the duels and stuff, which we didn't do against Napoli, as you pointed out. So we have to improve there. But as long as we can do that, then I think it should be a comfortable Chelsea win, really. I'd go for 2-0.
Even though Adama Traore is going to be oiled up and slipping about the place. The difficult thing as well for West Ham is that when you look at if you're a team that's in a relegation battle, right, you have to be tactical with the way that you plan for games, essentially. Yeah. And West Ham have got to play Chelsea away, Liverpool away, and Manchester United at home in the next 5. And in between those 3 games, they have Burnley and Bournemouth. And now, if you're Nuno Espirito Santo, you're going to be looking at it like, okay, well, the Chelsea game is going to be a tough one. If we can maybe scrape a point, then we'll take it. But the Burnley game away, the following Saturday, is huge. And then they're at home against United as well. Massive game. And even it's just very congested for West Ham. And I'm not sure that they're going to be able to give as much as they would like to give against Burnley as they will against Chelsea. I'm unsure who Forest are playing, to be fair. Nottingham Forest have got Palace. Yeah, see, Forest and Palace. I mean, if Forest win, they go on the same points as Palace, and Forest are at home. Although Forest are playing in Europe today. So it is a must-win game for West Ham to beat Chelsea, given that Forest have Palace, and there's that sort of what's going on around there. I just don't think they will. However, I do also think that West Ham's squad, on paper, is surely too good to go down. Like, Tadibo, I think, is a good player. Scarles, I think, is a good player. Wan-Bissaka is a perfectly fine defender. Bowen's brilliant. Fernandes is very good. Somerville's good. Souček is old, but all right. I do actually rate Castellanos, the striker, the Lazio guy. I think they've got a decent starting 11, but Chelsea at home, on form, beating Napoli. Cole Palmer could be back and starting. I think that it might be a bit too much for West Ham. I do think their loan move for Ward-Prowse to Burnley is odd, but
very odd.
It's very strange. They're like a direct rival when it comes to relegation. And I also, from Ward-Prowse's side, I mean, is Burnley the best club you could have gone to? I don't know. Maybe it is. Well, evidently it was. But I think it might be slightly too much. And if Chelsea can keep an eye on Bowen and Fernandes and hopefully stop the oiled up pace merchant from getting the better of them, then they'll certainly look to get all 3 points. Your smile is making me smile, Simon.
It's just like it's just how you keep saying the order. But he is
oiled up. He literally does it before the game.
I know, but it's just I don't want that image in my head. He's like, he is the kind of player though who will cause Chelsea problems, and we know 100%,
that. 100%.
Yeah, even though like he might just be a pace merchant, but he's a big guy, and he's gonna cause issues. So he's certainly one to keep an eye on. But I guess it would be up to Cucurella, I guess.
Yeah, let's hope there's not a well-timed article about his performances going out as ahead of this game. I think we both did it, but do you have a score prediction, Si?
Yeah, I said 2-0, yeah.
2-0. Okay. I also,
Yeah.
I'm going to go. I said 2-0, but you said it. So I'm going to go 3-1 to Chelsea.
3-1. Yeah. I mean, it's likely we will concede, but I'm trying to think positive.
Trying to think of better things. Okay. Have we missed anything? Is anything we need to run through, or are we all done this week? So I think we're all done, aren't we?
No, I think we're all done. Obviously, I can direct people to the 2 transfer articles that I put out this morning if they want to know anything more on transfers. And then there's a really good Kukurea article out that Jay appreciates this afternoon as well.
Yeah, indeed. Make sure you go and check that out. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Let's hope that Chelsea win on the weekend, make it 5 wins in a row. Always good to go through in the Champions League group stage above Real Madrid, PSG, and the rest of them. So things are looking quite rosy. Remember, stay positive because it's quite nice in blue at the moment. I think of all that's going on, things haven't actually been as bad as they look. And I will say that black kit is well nice. It's the first nice Chelsea kit. It's so long. It looks brilliant. It looked brilliant against Napoli. So let's hope the Blues get the result against the Hammers. We'll be back next Thursday. Deadline day is Monday, so I assume the site might be semi-busy depending on what goes on with Chelsea. A few incomings, maybe a few outgoings, hopefully. But we'll be back next Thursday. So guys, until then, have a lovely weekend and we'll catch you then. Bye-bye.